Please join me in welcoming the champion of this year's U.S. Open, Wyndham Clark. Can you try to put into words what's going through your head?
It's now my second win on the PGA Tour, and first one was surreal, and this one's surreal. So, it hasn't quite hit me yet. Walking up 18 was pretty emotional, and then finishing. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind of the last 5-6 weeks. It's been I'm just so blessed and humbled to be here.
Talk about your play today and just kind of your mindset throughout what was a stressful round.
Yeah, I started off great, and I felt really good and confident about my game. Unfortunately, I bogeyed the second hole, but I felt like I rebounded well and birdied in the fourth. I got a little unlucky on hole 8, but I just felt like I bounced back and kept my emotions about me. And, I hit some great shots coming down at the end. And although I made a couple bogeys and it seemed like maybe the rails were coming off, I was inside pretty calm. So I'm really pleased with myself with how I performed.
We're going to open up to questions right here on the left.
When you say you were calm, but we also saw the emotions the second it went in. How much are you wrestling with that whole back nine to try to keep those kind of emotions out?
Yeah, I'm a fast player in the sense of once I get up to hit it, I just hit it. Maybe my putting's a little slower now these days, but when I pull the trigger hitting, I'm fast. And so when things were going a little sideways or even good, I want to go fast. And I've just learned that I have to think slow and just kind of let things come to me and take it as it comes. And, I think the only time that I didn't was on the par 3. Was at 15. I kind of just lost my focus a little bit. It was a terrible wedge shot. But honestly, after that, even the bogey on 16, it's a tough tee ball. You hit in the bunker. But I hit some great shots coming down on 17 and 18. So I felt like I kept my emotions at check as much as I could until the green on 18.
Stay on the side with Kevin.
Hi, Wyndham. Could you take us through the sequence of 8 from when you hit the shot in there to, berries in the bush and you barely move it? And you made a really good chip there to make a bogey. Just if you could take us through what was going through your mind in those sequence.
Honestly, I thought I could get that up and down, the original shot up and down. The tough thing was the bush that was near where the ball was. If you're playing a money game, you step it out of the way, and I get that up and down. But obviously, the cameras are here, and I don't want to cheat and do anything wrong. So we made sure we brought the rules official in. And the tough thing was I couldn't see where I was hitting. The lie was not bad, but I couldn't see. And so going under that ball obviously was the worst case scenario. And then I hit the next one. I didn't even know where it went. But that's in that moment, my mind started going fast. But the good thing is I've done things like that in the past. I've learned from a lot of mistakes I've made. And so has my caddy, John. And he said, hey, Dub, we're fine. We just got to get this up and down, and it's no big deal. And we got my wits about me, and then I got that up and down. And honestly, that's momentum. Even though I made a bogey and it looked like I should have made birdie or par, making bogey there didn't kill me and kept me in the tournament. So that was a huge point in the round.
We're going to go to the right to Luke.
Hi, Wyndham. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know you've worked with coaches in the past, but you don't have one now. I'm just curious how you go about approaching your own game and managing it and optimizing.
Yeah, I've a lot of people say I have a good swing. I believe I have a good swing, and in my first few years on tour, it actually really bothered me because people would say, "Oh, you have such a great swing," and I didn't know where the ball was going, and that was really frustrating for me. And I worked with some great coaches, and they're very good at what they do, but I didn't know where the ball was going, and I didn't own it. And so when I decided to go on my own, I do work a little bit with my caddy, but typically it's on my own. I learned about my game and my swing, and that's what I did when I was younger. And I knew how to hit shots, and I got away from that when I was with the coach. And so now when I'm in practice, I'm always trying to get back to neutral. So if one day it's really cutty, I'm hitting huge draws on the range. And then some days it gets kind of too dry and I hit huge cuts and I get it right back to neutral. And that's honestly what I've done for the last year and a half. And so I felt like I've kept my swing in those parameters to where regardless, I can play good golf if I'm hitting a little draw or a little cut. And it's my stats have improved immensely by doing that.
We're going to go right here to Rex.
You told us at Wells Fargo that last year you kind of had frustration that you couldn't close out tournaments and you're aggravated. Could you imagine being in the situation where you are now, just weeks apart between 2 victories?
I think in the past, no. Now I've learned the Wells, winning Wells was huge for me because, I had some people telling me in my ear, they're like, hey, well, what if something greater is going to happen? And what if it's you losing this means something better is going to happen and you learn from it? And I think that was one of the first times that I said, and especially after Wells, I said, okay, you know what? I believe that. And so I honestly think I should have won the Memorial Tournament just a few weeks ago. And, Victor played great, but I was right there in contention and had a chance and kind of fumbled at the end. And in the back of my mind, I said, well, what if this is saving me for something greater? And, obviously I didn't know it was going to be a U.S. Open, but, I just had that attitude and believed that something better was going to happen. And, it did.
Ricky was just in here and he said, he told you in the scoring area, I think, that your mom would be proud. Can you just talk about those emotions?
Yeah, I know my mom's proud of me. She's always been proud of me, and regardless of how I'm doing or what I'm doing, I just wish she could be here and we can enjoy this. It's been a pretty amazing week because my mom lived in LA for a few years, and I've had some people come up to me and show pictures of my mom when they knew her back in her 20s and early 30s when she was living here, and that just happened this week. So it was kind of a special vibe all week being here in LA. My parents got married at Riviera Country Club, and so I have some roots a little bit in this area. And all I really wish is that my mom could be here and I could just hug her and we could celebrate together. But I know she's proud of me, and yeah.
We're going to go to my other side, Jill.
I think it's fair to say that there's probably some people watching who didn't know a lot about you. Now, having won on this stage, I'm wondering what you hope people learned about you through your play this week and especially today.
I feel like I belong on this. I feel like I belong on this stage, and even 2-3 years ago when people didn't know who I was, I felt like I could still play and compete against the best players in the world, and I felt like I've shown that this year. And I've come up close, and obviously everyone sees the person that hoists the trophy, but I've been trending in the right direction for a long time now. I've made a lot of cuts. I've had a handful of top 10s and top 20s, and I feel like I've been on a great trajectory to get to this place. And obviously it's gone faster than I thought in as far as just starting to do some stuff mentally that I've never done before. But I feel like I'm one of the best players in the world. And, obviously this just shows that what I believe is can happen. And but at the same time, I'm a pretty humble, calm guy, and I don't try to get too high or too low in things. And, I'm obviously going to celebrate this, but I like to compete. I like to play against. I'm so competitive. I want to beat everybody, but also be friends with everybody. So I try to have a good mix of that.
Far left.
You had a long embrace with John on the 18th green there. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship and what he means to you?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty emotional tournament for both John and I because John lost his dad only a couple years ago, and obviously being Father's Day, I hope this brings joy in his dad's eyes, and obviously to John. And also, happy Father's Day to my dad. He's unfortunately not here, but I love him, and I can't wait to celebrate with him. But John and our relationship has been so close, and John's been kind of my rock out here, and he's a great caddy, and he's had opportunities to caddy for other people, and he turned it down because he wanted to be there for me, and I owe a lot to him, and I feel like John's meant to be my caddy, and but it's so much more than just a business relationship. We're really close and good friends, and I'm close with his family, and he's close with mine. So this just makes it so much more special that we have that bond and relationship.
Back to Trent on the right.
Back nine, Sunday, U.S. Open, holding a narrow lead all afternoon. Just how tough is that?
The hardest thing, this is where the game is so mental because your mind starts to race. I mean, obviously, you turn and it's like, man, I should be at 12 or 13 and I should have a 2-3 shot lead. And, and then I'm almost eagle and birdie 14. It's like, all right, I got a 3-shot lead. And it's like, all I got to do is just coast in, and then you make a couple bogeys. And so it's so mental because you have to keep your mind so present. And the minute you get ahead or behind, I feel like you make mistakes, especially at this level. So it's more mentally tough than anything. But I feel like if you just stay within yourself, you can pull off the shots that you need to. And John and I, we're trying to keep it light. Fortunately, I was walking with Ricky and his caddy Ricky, and they're such class acts and great guys, and they were also trying to keep it light the last couple holes, which just gets your mind away from it just for a quick second, and so that really helped.
We're gonna go to Brentley on the left.
Wyndham, I talked to Coach McGraw this morning, and he talked about your freshman spring semester 2013, how you took a red shirt and how that was a big mental challenge for you those few months, and he recommended you step away for a little bit. Just talk about that moment and how crucial that was in your development, and have you had any mental challenges since 2013 that you've had to overcome and leaned on that?
Yeah. Mike McGraw is like a father figure to me, and especially during that time. I came in and was highly recruited out of high school, and right as I got there, I only made it into maybe 1 or 2 events in the fall, and then when I got home, I found out my mom was sick, and I came back, and Mike, Coach McGraw, had the wisdom to just, and he could see that it was affecting me so much more, and the golf was where it was coming out. I didn't show any emotion, off the course, but when I was on the golf course, I couldn't have been angrier. I was breaking clubs when I didn't even hit that bad of a shot. I was walking off golf courses. And so he said, hey, I think it's best if you just step away from golf. And at first, I really was mad. I'm competitive. I didn't want to not play, and I thought it was bad if you redshirted that you weren't good enough. But it was also the best thing for me. And, that I owe Mike a lot for that. And then as we went on forward, when I transferred from Oklahoma State to Oregon was another low point. I had a great redshirt freshman year at Oklahoma State, and then I had 2 bad seasons, and I ultimately transferred, and I was in a really low spot. And I think that was a lot of carryover from my mom passing. And so when I went to Oregon and Casey Martin then took over as my head coach, he instilled that I was one of the best players in the world, and he goes, you're good enough to play on this stage, but also in college and win. And then I had my best year ever, and so he instilled the confidence in me that maybe I lost. And then, I got out here pretty quick, but even those first few years, I felt like I underperformed, and I've had many times where I've gone home and, was yelling in my car and punching things and just so mad that I'm like, why can't I do what my peers are doing that I know I can play with and against and beat. And, so I've probably had 3 to 4 really defining moments in my career since college. But I'm really glad that I stuck it through, and, God has a plan for me, and it's obviously far greater than I ever could imagined. And so being here now, I just feel so blessed. And, it's honestly surreal to look back and think about the journey of the last 7 to 10 years.
A few more back right over my shoulder.
Hi, Wyndham. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I just think when you come in today, you've got some pretty big names around you, Rory, Scotty, Ricky. Naturally, some of the focus goes on them. Coming into this morning, did you feel that took some of the pressure off you, that perhaps you're flying under the radar a wee bit?
I mean, a little bit. I think Ricky probably had some of the most pressure being a California boy, and I mean, everyone wanted him probably more than anyone. Obviously, I put my own pressure on myself, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's nice being the underdog. It was great walking by, hearing a lot of people chant for Ricky's name because it just kind of fueled the fire underneath me that I could do it. My mental coach, Julie, told me, she goes, every time you hear someone chant Ricky, she goes, think of your goals and get cocky and go show them who you are. And I did that. I mean, it was like 100+ times today. I reminded myself of the goals. And, now maybe they'll be chanting my name in the future. So.
Back to Kevin on the left.
I saw you Wyndham warming up in the right before the round with Julie. She was standing right next to you, talking you through some shots. It was loose, but I could tell she was obviously. Can you share a little bit like what she was talking to you about or what she's meant to you and sort of helping you understand your potential?
We were talking about anything but golf, actually. We were talking about traveling. We were talking about the beautiful homes out here. She was just trying to keep it light, and it's huge in a major championship because you can kind of get really tunnel vision, and it's great to sometimes just look up and see what's going on and be like, hey, this is just like any other day. It's I've done this 1,000 times. So she has a great calmness and presence about her that just makes me calm and relaxed. I'm just so glad that my caddy and agent in November said, hey, we got this lady that we think you should work with. And I was a little reluctant to do it. And I'm just so glad that she was brought into my life, and what these, honestly, 6 months, it's crazy to see how much I've improved and how much she's helped me. I wouldn't have thought I'd be a major champion 6-7 months ago.
One more right here on the left.
Wyndham, we've talked the past couple of days. What do you think your mom would say right now?
My mom she was so positive and such a motivator in what she did. She'd be crying tears of joy. She called me Winner when I was little. And so she would just say, I love you, Winner. And, obviously she had that mantra of play big. But really, I was a mama's boy. So it'd be a lot of hugging and crying together. But I know she'd be very proud of me. And, I miss her. And it's obviously great to think about her, and being here in LA and winning something like this makes me think of her even more than maybe my day-to-day, when I'm not playing a championship.
Well, Wyndham, congratulations. Let's go get your name on that trophy.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.